it's good news.
Yeah?
It's good news, yeah.
Can you
But
believe
I'm
it?
just a has-been, so I don't comment anymore.
I know, but
uh,
can you believe it?
to come back?
no. Have you spoken to my wife yet, or?
Do you support him remaining leader?
Who, Pierre Poilievre? Absolutely, 100%.
For the next 3 years?
He's awesome. He's fantastic. He's well informed. He has the experience. He's on top of the issues. He cares about Canadians, and he's saying all the right things that Canadians need to hear. It's when he becomes Prime Minister, you'll see a different government here that will deliver real results.
But hasn't things changed since the last election? Public opinion polls showing that they were satisfied with Mr. Carney. You've seen a couple of your colleagues go to the other side. Have things changed that make it difficult for Mr. Poilievre?
Not at all. We're united as a caucus behind our leader, and we're looking forward to keeping to hold this government to account, and looking forward to that next election whenever it comes.
Are there any lessons learned from last night's results?
None.
The Conservatives, even though your vote percentage went down?
The Liberals won 3 by-elections last night in ridings that they won April 28th last year. The same ridings.
But your vote percentage
we
went
lost,
down.
we lost nothing.
Your vote percentage went down.
You want to look at the vote percentages?
I do, yeah.
Okay, then you have to look at voter turnout and a whole bunch of other issues.
Can
So
you
no
really
new strategy going
can you
forward?
really keep Poilievre as a leader for 3 years for him to
100%.
maybe win in 3 years from now?
100%, of course. There's no question of leadership. We got 87.4% support at our convention in January from our base of delegates that were there. 100% support him.
What do you
Does
say
there
to
be any pivot or
conservatives?
change going forward?
What do you say to conservatives who think maybe it is time that the conservatives look inward
I
and
say to
figure
them
out?
that the things that are important to us are the fact that as we're speaking here today, 24,000 children are walking into food banks hoping to find something on the shelf to eat because they're hungry. 2.2 million people every month are visiting food banks.
But what do you say to
The
conservatives that
national
say
debt this
the
year
party can't
alone,
win with him as
the
leader?
national debt this year is $80 billion that we know of, if not higher, when they do their economic update.
But with all respect,
Crime
Mr.
on the
Poilievre
streets
didn't win last
is
time.
incredible. In my riding alone, in the last 5 months, there have been 2 murders on the streets of Richmond Hill. Okay? Things are not good on the ground. So I think we're focusing on the right things to deliver results for Canadians. We're going to keep holding this government to account.
Does Mr.
Thank you.
Is there anything that can be done to make sure caucus is happy, better managed?
Caucus is very happy. People that
Sir, caucus is not very happy.
Caucus is very happy. Nobody has told me they're not. They're very. We're united. We're solid 100%. The people that left for their own reasons. Good luck to them.
It was because of the leader.
That's what happened. People have left. People have left before. No, you're saying it's because of the leader.
No, they're saying it's because of the leader.
Well, it's a good
Other people within your
They will
caucus
say.
have said it's because of the leader.
They will say what they want to say. I know one thing for sure. Okay, Pierre Poilievre has strong leadership. He's focusing on the right things for delivering results for Canadians, and that's what we're going to keep doing.
Has anyone approached you to floor cross the Liberals? Have any Liberals reached out to you at all?
No, not at all. Nobody.
Do you think are you anticipating or worried about some of your colleagues deciding to cross?
You never want to see your colleagues cross, but if they decide, the grass is greener on the other side, they can go wherever they like. But we were elected. We were elected on a platform to deliver results for Canadians. And you can't say one thing one day and change the next day. You can't say today, I'm going to stand up in the House and I'm going to criticize the Carney government. The next day, oh, look at me. I just came out of the shop. I bought a nice red dress and now I'm a liberal. You can't say one thing one day and behave differently the next day and expect to have some credibility.
But after
Okay?
But how can Poilievre change?
Sorry?
What can Poilievre change?
I don't know why he should change. He's doing all the right things. Look, if you look at what he has focused on just in the last few months alone, let alone from the beginning of this particular 45th Parliament, he's focused on all the right things. He's in touch with Canadians. He's spanning this country from coast to coast to coast. He's talking to a lot of people, and that's the way it is. Now, political polls and going up and down, that's not something you can control. We'll see what happens on Election Day when that comes.
Mr. Poilievre can't control that with what he does?
Mr. Poilievre can control the message that what our party stands for and what we're fighting for, and that's exactly what he's doing. That's a big, and that's a big plus. Okay. The real poll that counts is on Election Day. You will see on Election Day a different result. On the last, talking about polls, on April 28th, I was supposed to lose by 2 percentage points in my riding. I won by 12. That's a 14-point swing. I will leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Why?
Why do I support Pierre? right vision for Canada. Is focused on the issues that affect Canadians the most. Sorry, I'm out of breath there. I just climbed up the stairs. But no, I 100% support Pierre, and he's trying to do the right things, and he's thinking about people at home and what the struggles they're going through financially and a lot of other things.
How do you square that with what public opinion, when public opinion seems to suggest that a lot of Canadians, that what Mark Carney's doing is resonating with a lot of Canadians, more so than what Mr. Poilievre has on offer?
In what areas?
Public opinion polls
Just in a straight up-
successively- Yeah, like he's preferred as a prime minister in many ways. Canadians seem to like what this government is doing, not so much what the Conservatives are proposing.
Well, we know polls go up and polls go down. There's no doubt about that. And it's just interesting, some of the correspondence I've had recently from constituents. I wouldn't identify them with any particular political party. And you might be surprised if that is a trend where we see some of the polling going forward. But polls go up, polls go down. And, you know, you've heard it a million times. So far, a lot of it is just words. And Canadians are wanting to see some results now. And so the pressure's on Mark Carney in the next year, 2 years, potentially, to actually deliver for Canadians.
Do you view the government as a legitimate majority government?
Do I think the government is a legitimate,
Do you view the majority government as legitimate?
as legitimate?
Yeah.
Obtained legitimately or legitimate?
Yeah, obtained.
Well, I think it was convenient. I think it was convenient when Marilyn crossed the floor. In fact, she was just at the crosswalk when I was just walking across here. But I think it's interesting the timing in which she crossed. I think we all see the convenience where the by-elections were yesterday, and so it wasn't her crossing that gave them the majority. It was the by-election that gave them a majority. But I don't think, in my own opinion, and from what I hear people from the arena or the grocery store or what have you, they have real concerns on majority governments getting cobbled together after the fact. We've had floor crossings for ever since we've been born. I don't agree with them, but the fact is, I don't know in history if one has ever given somebody a majority
Why are
government.
we hearing you call for an election
You
then?
have been in the government before, and now
Yes.
you're going to be in opposition for another probably 3 years. What does that feel like? Is that demoralizing?
Well, I used to have beautiful long hair at one time. No, I'm kidding. No, it's not demoralizing. I thought Andrew Coyne made a great point last night. We all know it. Our job is to keep the government to account. It is also to work collaboratively when there's an opportunity, but also to keep them at account. There, you want to talk to Marilyn now?
Conservative bench or the Liberal bench? I'm getting confused, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, aren't you? You know, it seems like it was a really good day for Conservative voters yesterday. They got the Prime Minister that they wanted.
But Golden Mill says that there's an MEP in the mix across the board.
I can't even imagine. So, I honestly can't. It's certainly not going to be me. I will never do that. That I promise you.
What do you make
So-
of the Liberals having a majority?
I mean, obviously it's disappointing. You know, the Canadians wanted a minority government, and they voted for a minority government. But here we are. This is the voters voted last night. I'm proud of our candidates. They had a new leader, and they came out. They fought hard, and we had really good candidates that put together a campaign, you know, on the fly. And I'm really proud of the work they put in. But again, the result was, something that I think that many Conservatives were happy with. They got the Prime Minister that they wanted, and we're not seeing a big difference between Conservatives and Liberals today. I mean, the Liberals caved on the Conservative proposal to remove the gas tax. Hey, I just hosted 4 town halls in my riding. It was unanimous. People wanted relief. They wanted the gas tax removed, but they wanted it to be paid for by Big Oil. Big Oil is profiting. You know, they're posting record profits, and throughout this conflict, they're going to make even more money. And not one of them wanted it to be at the cost of infrastructure or health transfers or things that Canadians need. That this should be paid for by those that are profiteering.
So do you have any cards to play to push your policy agenda forward?
Well, I think that people are actually paying attention. And like I said, I had 4 town halls, almost unanimous. Everybody wanted some relief, but they didn't want it to be, at the expense of, infrastructure, health transfers, and tackling climate change. And they were very clear that it should be those that are profiteering, big oil, big banks, big grocery. They're posting record profits. It's like there's no ceiling on the record profits that these big corporations are charging. Yesterday we heard the StatsCan report, and it was very clear that 20% of wealth, 20% of Canadian of wealth is held. 2/3 of wealth is held by 20% of Canadians. The bottom 40% holds 3% of all wealth, and right now people are struggling. And big corporations are profiteering. They're posting record profits at the expense of everyday Canadians. They're getting hit at the till. They're getting hit at the pump. They're getting hit on their Wi-Fi. And people just can't get a break. And this change today is not going to change the structural problems that people are facing every day.
Carney said he's not calling an election. How does this benefit your party? Does it give you guys time to rebuild and get candidates across the country?
Right now I'm focused on what I just talked about and making sure that, that we pressure the Conservative and Liberal stranglehold in supporting the corporate welfare system and subsidies that they have for these big corporations, and making sure that they contribute, that they support Canadians and give them the relief they need. But it shouldn't be at the expense of the very people that are struggling. Thanks.
I do. Yes, I do. Why is that? Why is that? What is it about his leadership that you think is actually breaking through when you consider the results from yesterday?
The results, the by-election results?
Yeah.
Well, these were not competitive seats for Conservatives.
Pierre
has done well in the leadership review. We have some members who have left. They've given up, frankly. I will bet you not one of them runs again in the next campaign. They're out of gas, and they've given up, unfortunately. The rest of us are going to soldier on and win the next election.
What's your message to Conservatives who say about Mr. Poilievre's leadership, given the floor crossings we've seen some caucus?
No, I'm 100% supportive of Pierre.
Why? Given what we've seen, there are some Conservatives who are suggesting maybe it's time for caucus to consider other options, or for Mr. Poilievre.
Mr. Poilievre's doing an excellent job, and I support his leadership.
But what do you make of the success of 4 floor crossers in a row? Does that weaken the party? Does that weaken his leadership?
Yesterday, are you happy?
It's great. I'm really excited for my neighbouring riding MP, Dolly Begum, for her to join and be a strong voice for the people of Scarborough Southwest.
Are you expecting a more progressive voice in the Liberal benches because she was formerly NDP?
She has been a great voice, and she has done a lot of community work, because I my riding is just next to her. We share the boundary along Eglinton, so I think that will be a great addition.
Now that the Liberals have a majority, do you think they should rethink that deal they made with the Bloc on C9 and put the religious exemption back into the bill, now that they might have the votes?
Let's get through these things, but I think this victory in Scarborough Southwest is great.
About faith in his leadership?
Conservatives met just over 2 months ago with representatives from electoral districts from every corner of the greatest country in the world, and with 87%, Conservative members gave Mr. Poilievre the continued mandate to deliver lower prices for Canadians, to fight for safer streets in our country, and to fight for us to strengthen our sovereignty.
You don't think the calculation has changed in the last month?
In our caucus, we have 140 members who believe in delivering and continuing to fight for the very things that they promised Canadians less than a year ago. And Mr. Poilievre has demonstrated that he is committed to that fight. We've seen that he's redoubled his efforts, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with Pierre Poilievre and with our hardworking Conservative caucus, who are going to deliver on their promise they made to Canadians less than a year ago, to fight for those things that are so important.
But the vote share in those 3 by-elections went down for the Conservatives. Is that not a message to the Conservatives?
The message that we got from Canadians came loud and clear last year with the vote share that we received, with 140 members in our caucus who continue to support and believe in Pierre Poilievre's leadership, and we're going to keep working hard for Canadians, because that's what we promised.
Do you think the majority was achieved through legitimate means? In your role as ethics critic, are you at all worried about the changes to the committees that are likely coming?
We've seen a filibusters ongoing at the Standing Committee on Access to Information, Privacy and Ethics, and it's disappointing when what we're asking for is just core accountability from the government. You have a minister who said that he thought that there was a risk of a conflict of interest because his partner is a vice president at Alto, and so he said that he wouldn't participate in debates, discussions, decisions, or votes and that he thought a recusal was necessary. No conflict of interest screen and no recusal has been registered on the Conflict of Interest Commissioner's website. So we've said we want the minister to come to committee, that we want the ethics commissioner to come to committee, and we want the CEO of Alto to come to committee. And Liberals have now continued what is a multi-day filibuster to prevent that. So even in the absence of a majority on committees, the Liberals have found ways to thwart efforts in accountability, but that doesn't mean that we're going to stop advancing, those accountability measures, because they're important for Canadians' confidence in our democratic institutions, in parliamentarians, and in all levels of government.
Have any
Thank
Liberals
you.
asked you to cross over?
The answer would be no if they did. Thank you.
Watching the show voting going on there. We're in the middle of a 10-hour filibuster right now. 10 hours that the Liberals have been filibustering our motion to have François-Philippe Champagne, the ethics commissioner, and representatives from Alto to come in and talk about the story about the conflict of interest, the ethics screen. 10 hours they've been filibustering. So there's been a lot of showboating going on at Ethics Committee by the Liberals. So.
Thank you very much. From now on?
Hold off on the what?
The showboating from now on?
What does that mean?
Well, it was the Prime Minister this morning saying that now that he has a majority, that he won't have to, that in committees we won't have to deal with showboating anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Showboating? From me specifically or all committees?
No, just like mostly. I think he was directing it at the Conservative Party.
Wow. That's incredible. When committee's there to try to get facts and truth, and we have a tough time from ministers trying to get facts and truth. So the showboating thing, I haven't seen that yet. But it's in committee, you'll get this where the Liberal government will try to turn the conversation to areas where they don't want to. They don't want to talk about the critical areas. They want to kind of come up with their own topics that don't really affect society. But I haven't seen showboating. Yeah, interesting. Thanks.
Thank you.